to be reconditioned on the way you give presentations and the way you design presentations. The way you've learned to present is by watching other presenters who aren't good your whole career. So let's look at what you learned wrong to begin with. What you learned wrong was that a presentation is about getting the ideas from the mind of the speaker into the mind of the audience. That you walk in and you have lots of information, you have ideas, you have concepts, you have data, all this in your mind, and at the end of the presentation, that should be in the mind of the audience. And if you do that well, they will clearly see it the way you see it and agree to what it is that you asked them for. If this is your approach, you will fail every time. The reason for that is that a presentation is not about the transfer of data. It's about capturing the heart and the mind of the audience. A presentation really is the transfer of emotions supported by data and logic. In other words, you go into a meeting and you feel a certain way about the topic you're going to speak upon. You're excited about it, you're nervous, you're angry, you're fearful, you're worried, you're enthusiastic. But if it's an important issue, important enough that you've put together a presentation and you're going in front of some group that can make a change in this, you feel strongly in some way. Your goal is that at the end of the presentation, they feel the same way you feel. And if they don't, nothing will happen. If you walk in passionate and enthusiastic and excited and they leave passionate and enthusiastic and excited, the likelihood of the change you're requesting happening is considerably better. Your job is to transfer the emotions supported by data and logic. Obviously, data and logic are important. You can lose your audience if your data and logic doesn't make any sense, but you can never win them with only data and logic. And this is true of every person. If all it took was logic, if all it took was data, no one would smoke. It's not that we don't have the data. In fact, a lot of people start smoking, many of you, when you went to college. So you're smart enough, well enough informed to get into college, and yet you thought it was a good idea to start smoking your sophomore year. It wasn't a lack of information. And in fact, if all it took was logic, no one would smoke. Stories are data with a soul. Stories are data with a soul. And the way the human mind works, we need stories. And so your job in there, when you go in to present, is to tell a story that tells what's wrong with things the way they are, a story that tells how things could be different, and a story that tells what will be the positive outcome of life here if we make these changes, supported by lots of data and lots of logic.